On almost every SAT, you're going to see a version of this question right here for the double passage, okay? Which best describes the overall relationship between passage 1 and passage 2? And this won't always work, but the first thing that you should always do with this question is go to the blurb, okay? This little blurb is very, very helpful. Usually, it's more helpful when the passages are not science-based. They're those great global conversations or whatever they call them. So it can really help you put things in perspective. So let's see. What do I get out of this little blurb? Passage 1 is adapted from Talleyrand et al., Report on Public Instruction, originally published in 1791. So, okay, it's about instruction. Passage 2 is adapted from Mary Wollstonecraft, A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. Vindication also is a positive word. Originally published in 1792. Talleyrand was a French diplomat. The report was a plan for national education. Wollstonecraft, a British novelist and political writer, wrote Vindication in response to Talleyrand. Now, never say never, but almost never is there going to be a case where someone is responding to an author and saying, yes, I agree with everything that you said. Just doesn't really happen, especially on the SAT. So response almost always means disagreement, okay? So that is our dumb summary of what's going on here. What is the relationship between these passages? They disagree. Now, with just that one word, let's think about these answer choices and see, is there anything that we just kind of like can get rid of right away? Now, choice A, passage 2 strongly challenges the point of view in passage 1. That sounds a lot like a disagreement, so let's leave it in. B, passage 2 draws alternative conclusions from the evidence presented in passage 1. It's a little bit weaker, but that also could maybe be a disagreement, right? Alternative conclusions, so let's keep that in as well. C, though, passage 2 elaborates on the proposal presented in passage 1. Well, probably not. That's not a disagreement. That would probably be an agreement, right? If they're just continuing the same thought. Now, look, I would just be confident getting rid of that from the blurb, but we've also done a bunch of other questions about these passages. We have a really good sense that there is a genuine disagreement here between them, and so that can help us as well. Our memories of the other questions don't just disappear instantly. And there you go. It's not an elaboration. They are genuinely disagreeing. D, passage 2 restates in different terms the argument presented in passage 1. Well, I know it says different, but that does not mean that they disagree. That's just saying that they have the same argument in different words, which, I mean, no. Again, it's not the same argument. It's a disagreement. So now we should really dive a little bit deeper into A and B and see, like, okay, which one might be better. Honestly, even though it uses the phrase strongly challenges, choice A to me is a weaker choice than choice B. And I mean weak in the sense that it says less, right? It basically just says what my dumb summary says, that they disagree. Whereas B goes a little further, right? It kind of starts to describe the nature of the disagreement, right? Passage 2 draws alternative conclusions from the evidence presented in passage 1. So there's a strong word or phrase here. I really need to know, okay, well, what is that evidence? And there isn't really any. There's a lot of talk in here in passage 1, but evidence is a very specific thing. I'm thinking data. I'm thinking, examples. There aren't really any. This is all just very kind of high-minded talk about men and women and the roles in society and what's good and what's bad. There's no real evidence supporting any of the arguments here. So it's not even the case that passage 2 uses the same evidence as passage 1. Passage 1 isn't using any evidence at all. And I get that that's a little harder, but when we have these comparative questions, I would say that generally the more basic way that they put it is usually going to be best, right? So choice A, even though it uses the phrase strongly challenges, it's still a weaker choice because it's still just saying, like, they disagree without trying to explain how they disagree or why they disagree or what they disagree on. It's just they disagree. The less a choice says, generally, on the SAT, the better. I think that that's what's happening here. But first and foremost, even though this kind of gets a little hard, it was easy to get down to a 50. 50 choice if we read the blurb. So, handwriting's getting ugly, but now you know. Always read the blurb.